And you know, my book, I think I did it 25, 30 years ago. So some of the pictures are a little dated by, by the photos, but here is our symbol for today. And as you can see, this is a couple in first class on the airplane, the way it used to be back in the old days when actually the flight attendants were with a chef, with a chef's hat on, the whole works, a whole 9 yards of luxury. And one of the things that I think is really cool about this picture is the fact that the chef or the steward, whatever he may be, is in a pleasant conversation with the man and the woman. They're all smiling. You know, it's like such a delight when people are in the service industry and they smile, they're happy, they're joyful to be serving you. And it's so exciting to be able to travel in first class on an airplane. At least it is for me, because you have to remember, I was a flight attendant for so many years. And the only way I really got to travel in first class way back when was they used to put the airline employees in first class when it wasn't full. I'm telling you, those were the good old days. No more. That doesn't happen ever anymore. But I think it's kind of interesting that lately, you know, in my, you know, being my age today, I finally get to not travel first class, but travel business class. And nothing brings me greater joy, because I had to non-rev most of my life. And if you don't know what non-revving is, you wait to see if the plane has empty seats. And if it does, then you get on. If it's full, forget it. You got to wait till the next flight or the next day. It was, you know, it was crazy, but there was nothing more thrilling to think that you were on that flight for free, because you were when you non-revved. But after a while, it got really old when you got bumped and you had to stay in hotels that cost more, way more than the flight would have cost. So I don't do that anymore, needless to say. And there's such a thing for most of you. You probably know about points. My husband knows how to wheel and deal those points. So we get in business class, especially when we go overseas. And those seats fill up. There's never an empty seat in business class. So it's not like you can non-rev and get there anymore. But here's what I think this picture's telling all of us. Sincerely, I think this is about our poverty consciousness, and that we are here to exterminate, get rid of our poverty conscious, because who doesn't want to travel in these seats and be waited on? I mean, this is a luxury to the most extreme degree. And you know what? Don't you think you're worth it? Don't you think you deserve that after all you've done, all the hard work, everything? Yes, you do. I want everyone to get rid of this poverty consciousness, this nonsense that feels like you're not worthy to have the fruits, the benefits, the joys, the happiness that life can provide. And, you know, I remember waiting on, as a flight attendant, very famous people, actually way back in the day, way back in the day, before private jets, the movie stars and the elite used to travel on regular airlines. And I remember, you know, like my first few years of flying, every time I'd come home, my mother would always say, did you have any famous people on your flights? Well, of course, usually I didn't. I was flying for Southwest. Southwest is like the inexpensive airline. But every once in a while, somebody famous had to hop on to get somewhere really quick. And what I want to say is many of the old movie stars way back in the day, I don't know if any of y'all know who Bob Hope was, but he was like amazing. And one thing I'll say about the old movie stars is they made you feel special, even though you were a fan. unlike what they do today. Today, they don't make you feel special. They don't stop and talk, give an autograph, and really make you feel and remember your name. They always did that. I remember the old movie stars, they did that kind of stuff. But my point is, everyone we meet, we should greet them in such a manner as the people here in their interactions with the flight crew, and the people that are talking to the flight crew are talking to the flight crew with such happiness and respect and relating to people. And I'll never forget, this was way before, and whether you like him or not, get rid of whatever, because one time I waited on George W. Bush, okay? And this was George Bush, the younger one. I think it was George W. Yeah, the younger one, who was president during 9/11 and all of that. I didn't know who he was. That's how political I am. But this was way before he was president. He lives in Dallas, and he used to own, I think, a baseball team, the Rangers. He used to own this baseball team, and that was his job way back in the day. So he was on my flight, and I didn't know who he was. And I went up to him and asked him what he wanted to drink. And he was so over the top nice to me. He was like, sure, I'll have a Diet Coke. I'll never forget. And I'll just never forget how he looked at me into the eye and was so gracious. And I thought, who is this guy? And then I'm in the back alley with the other girls. She goes, do you know who you're waiting on? Do you know who's in your section? I said, no, who? She says, that's President Bush's son. Because back then it was, the older Bush's son. And I said, really? And she says, yes. And so she went up and started talking to him. And then I went back, and I didn't realize the two men that were sitting on both sides of him were very quiet, very, big and handsome, but, strong. They were two bodyguards, but I didn't know. And every time I went by him, he smiled, and I asked him if he wanted something to drink. Same response, sure, I'll have a Diet Coke. But I want you to know, I have found other people that were famous, and they treated me like I was dirt. Wouldn't look at me and commanded me and was rude. But here is the situation: when you treat people respectfully and kindly, you're going to get it back too. So I just thought it was very interesting how I watch how people treat people that are serving them. If ever they're rude, I really don't like that person. And I know all of you have had to be out with friends or somebody that treated the service people rudely. What is that? Do they think they're better than them or something? So I want this to be a lesson that everyone that you come in contact with, I want you to treat them the way you would like to be treated, essentially. That's the most important thing I want everyone to realize from this lesson today. If you've ever been in any kind of service industry, you know what I'm talking about. Even doctors, nurses, flight attendants, waiting on people in hospitality business. I mean, this is humanity being kind to each other. And I always found being a flight attendant a lot of fun, because when I would talk to people, strike up conversations and smile, they were so fun to talk to. And I learned so much about different people all day. All my flight attendant friends would say, why are you out there always talking to the people? And I said, well, I thought that was part of our job. But they're like, no, you get back here and start talking to us. But yeah, because all they wanted to do was get in the back of the plane and gossip. But I just want you to know, what you put out there in the world, we're always going to get back. And it's so important to, they say, even people in politics, what is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be a service to humanity. Of course, I think it's kind of changed gears lately, but that is what it's really for, that they're there to help people. And we're there to help people every day. I want you to remember this. When you go to a store and you ask someone for help, treat them with the kindness that you expect to be treated with yourself. And you know, it's a way that we get to know people too. People come around and all of a sudden, you know, every time we would go on a cruise, we would come home with all these new best friends that we had to go visit after the cruise because, you know, I always find it fun to meet people. People are interesting. So that's what I got out of this picture. And lately I've been kind of flipping it over to look at what the other picture on the back is, because I find it has just as much meaning in some way than the picture that I pulled. But one thing I want this picture to emulate for all of us is prosperity. No more poverty consciousness. We all want and deserve to be treated like kings and queens, and we've got to be treating other people like that, because we're all equal, we're all the same. Why would we do anything different than that? And we've got to know that what we put out, we get back. So here's the other picture, which I think is kind of fascinating. And to me, that looks like they're people that become what do you say, part of another country, when you become when you get legalized, that's not the word I'm thinking of, but when you become a citizen of, what is it called, citizen?
Naturalization, naturalized, yes.
That's what I think that looks like to me. But if you'll notice their faces, they're proud. They want to be part of something that they want to live in a country, they want to be part of it, and they're becoming citizens of that nation. So what do I think that brings up? A sense of pride of who you are and where you are. We all have to have a pride in ourselves and be proud of where you're from and who you are. If you're not going to experience this. You know, if you're not proud of who you are and respect yourself and where you come from, you will not have the prosperity of this. So I think that's a pretty big lesson for us to consider, that we need to come from a place of being proud of ourselves. So I pulled out the messages that I got from The Fundamentals of Success by Jack Canfield, from that book. And the one that I think connects most dearly with our message today, that we're going to carry, remember, we're going to carry this message all week. And I want you to be reminded of this, that never are you going to think of yourself as less than anyone. You're just as powerful and you're just as good. And you have to come from a place of knowing it and believing it, because I'm going to give you 3 success principles that we're going to carry with us this whole week. And the first one is develop positive money consciousness. Develop positive money consciousness, because, you know, so many of us, we were raised with the concept that money is the root of all evil. I mean, that will definitely keep you in poverty if you believe that, okay? What is money? Money is simply energy. When you exchange goods for something, you exchange it with money. There is sort of like a reward. It's like an energy that you get a service and you give that money because you're in appreciation for that service. And when you pay your bills, you should be joyful. Why? Because you get that service. You want air conditioning in your house, I am sure. So if somebody comes to fix your air conditioner, you shouldn't be angry that it broke or whatever happened. You should be joyful that you can receive the service. So as a token of appreciation, you give money. And all of the bills that we pay for our homes, for our cars, that's a service, and we should be joyful that we are able to get such a service and that we're able to pay for it. So money is energy, and money is not to be looked at as evil. It's something that we give in payment of something. And I found, I think I've told you all this in one of these classes before, but I found one time that, people would be so pitiful. They'd want to come to my astrology classes and they said, I can't pay for it. I can't afford it. And I said, okay, you can come to my class. It's free because, your poverty, whatever. I didn't say that, but you don't have the money to pay. I'll be darned if the girl that said she didn't have the money for my class didn't come the following week with her hair all colored and cut the next week. She didn't have money for my class, but she certainly did to have her hair done. And that costs way more than my class did way back then. And I've learned the hard way that when you give something without a payment coming in return, people do not appreciate it. They don't. As a matter of fact, let me say something. One of my clients, she is, she's a billionaire, multi-billionaire, one of my clients. And she's a homeopathic doctor and does all sorts of healing treatments. And she does this on the side of course, her, wealth and money. Well, of course, because, she has so much money that she can afford anything. She used to give her services free. And she learned just what I did, that people don't appreciate what they're given for free. So you know what she does now? I think this is beautiful. She charges them and gives the money that she gets from the service to her charity of choice that she wants to empower. But you have to know that people, you should feel a good thing. And when you feel a good thing to pay for your services or pay for whatever you're getting, you feel good about it. When it's given to you, and you haven't worked for it, there's no exchange. In other words, that's my whole point. There needs to be exchange when it comes to money, and that's going to make a big difference if you feel this way in terms of your own prosperity, because remember, what you put out comes back, and what you put out with great gratitude and appreciation, it does come back tenfold, as they say in some of the ancient scriptures. So remember this, don't give, and of course don't give with thinking, oh, well, if I give this means it's going to come back tenfold. No, that's not the attitude. The attitude means you want to give because you're in so much appreciation of something. And if you give to somebody that's in such appreciation, in some way they give back to you. I have so many wonderful clients that, give me gifts. I can't believe it. After they've even paid for a reading, I'm like, that is so appreciative and so kind. And no, I don't want them to do that, but it's the way we should be. We should want to give when we're appreciative. And when we have like no motives behind it, ulterior motives or anything like that, just giving, it always comes back. But I want you to be aware of services and people that give you a service. That is such a beautiful thing. That is really what we're here to do, as they say, serve God by serving other people. By serving other people, here's what I want you to remember. Because every human being is a part of God, when you serve other people and give to them, you are serving God. And that should be our attitude in every day, and have the joy of giving and helping people. That's what I want to impress on you. And isn't that something? I got all of that out of that picture? Well, mainly because I used to work on airplanes, and I remember the rapport of being with really sweet people and serving them, and how fun it was when you're appreciated and then it comes back. So here are the, like I said, there are 3 success principles I want you to live by this week. And of course, the first one I just said, develop positive money consciousness. And the next one is believe it's possible. That's one thing that I think we have all these things that we put on our vision board that we want. We put it up there, but there's this little inkling inside of us that says, you're not going to get that. You're not worth that. How can you get that? That's impossible. No, you got to believe it's possible. That's what I want you to do. And when you come from that place of believing, then it equates to you knowing, and that's when it happens. Seriously. And there's one more in the success principles. Remember, I'm giving you 3 this week. And the next one is to believe in yourself. So let me state all 3 if you want to jot these down, and you're going to live by this week. Develop positive money consciousness, number 1. Number 2, believe it's possible. And number 3, believe in yourself, because you are everything in your universe. You can change the way you think, you believe, the way you react, the way you are in this world, and that will change your experience in the world as it all comes back to you. These are such simple truths that work. And I want all of you, if you're doing vision boards, to, when you put the things up on your vision boards, which I want you to be doing vision boards all along during these classes, when you put those pictures up there, the one thing I want you to believe is that it's possible. Don't have that little voice that's been in the back of your head your entire life saying it can't happen. Yes, it can. Know it. And lastly, you are the most powerful thing. What I want to exemplify in all of these meetings that we have, I am simply here to remind you of who you really are. And that means I am here to empower you, not me, you. And with so many cults and weird things going on in this world, remember this: I am here to empower you, and you have the answers, and you have the power to create what you want in your life. Don't go outside of yourself looking for other people to do it for you. You're going to do it. And you are that powerful. We all have to come to terms with empowering other people is really how we empower ourselves. True power is that. You know, so many people get caught up in ego and power, and what they're doing is they're getting people to follow them, to praise them. If anybody does that to you, I want you to go the other direction as fast as you can, because you've got to realize who you really are. You are the source of power for everything in your own life. And I want you to focus in on that. Realize it, know it. When you put those things up in the vision board, realize who you really are. You are that spark of the divine of God, and you can master anything that you want. And you are your own power to know it's possible, know yourself, and know that you are that divine being that is all powerful and can manifest practically anything you want. And get rid of that poverty consciousness right now. All of us have that ingrained in us, all of us. Money doesn't grow on trees, all that nonsense we were told as kids. And, you know, we can change our lives by changing these old recordings of there's not enough to go around, there's lack, there's poverty, look at all the starving people in the world, why should you be where you are and finish all the food on your plate because of all this? Well, forgive me, Gita, but they would actually say this. Finish all your food on your plate because there's starving children in India. They would say India all the time when we were little. Do y'all remember anything like that? It's crazy. It is nuts. And so many of the religions out there condone this poverty consciousness. Do you know that nuns in the Catholic Church have to take a vow of poverty? And then they walk around in those black outfits that are so hot in the middle of summer with cardboard. I don't know if it's like they're supposed to suffer more, that's supposed to get them in heaven, but I don't believe, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that there is such a thing as a God that says the more you suffer, you can get into heaven. I believe that the God, which is love, wants everyone to be happy, have the joy and happiness of the fruits of this world and after. That's my belief. That's the only God of love, not that there's a God that wants you to suffer. So all these religions throughout our life have been brainwashing us that we need to be poverty conscious and we have to go through poverty and suffering to get into heaven. And there's some kind of saying, I can't remember it exactly, something about the eye of the needle. It's harder for a rich man to go through the eye of the needle to get to heaven, or something preposterous like that. These are all man-made sayings. These are not what the divine has ever said. And religion, forgive me for saying this if this offends you, but religion is man-made. That's why I want all of us to go within and talk to that Spirit of God within us, not listen to all these people that are projecting their opinions or beliefs in anything. We have to really come from our own spirit. And yes, some of the beliefs that we have are wrong. Why do we have those? Because we've been brainwashed our whole life as children growing up. But you have to know that we are all equal, we're all part of God, and there is no such thing as, well, even in India, the caste system, you know, that is not something that should be, I think that's a bad, that tells you that some people should never progress or have the fruits of prosperity in this world. And we have beliefs like that all over the world. I just know that there's, different cultures that have them, but all over the world, every single culture has some kind of belief that people are better or lesser or more. I want you to get away from that. That's where I want us to come from this message today, that we're all here serving each other. We're all exchanging money and wealth and prosperity together. And this is what I want to see all of us, to really and truly be on both sides, serving as well as receiving in that picture. We should all be served in such a beautiful way. We should all receive in such a beautiful way. It's like, yes, I used to serve people on the airplane, but I sure love to sit on that plane as a passenger and be served. So it's like giving and receiving. We should both have the joys of both, and they should be both as joyful. That's my point with that. So before we go to the astrology for today and what's going on, I want some feedback. What do you guys think about the messages today? Tell me anything that came to mind or what I missed out on that you can add to this message for today. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I'll start if you want.
Okay.
First, go ahead.
I'll start. It just got me really excited and re-energized because we're going to Italy on Friday. And I have just been kind of like, blah, as stupid as that sounds, I have been, but just looking at that reminded me, it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. And so, yeah. And hopefully our flight will be something similar to that. I won't get the chef, but you know what I mean. I'm excited.
Good, you should be. It's so much fun for me, I still get a kick out of flying. I don't know why. As many flights as I've been on for 40 years up and down flying, I still get a little charge in the
It's part of the experience.
Yes, it's fun. We're in an airplane going over countries in the air. How thrilling is that? So, get back to being a kid and, like
Yeah.
Deborah down there just said, flying is an adventure. I think it's fun. And, look at it from the viewpoint of when you were a child, the joy of it and the newness of it, because it's still an adventure and fun, and visiting other countries and cultures and their foods. That is such a wonderful experience. So, boy, Marcy, I can't wait to hear about your trip. It's going to be wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Anyone else want to add anything?
I do this morning. This is a validation of something that I had heard this morning. I really needed a shot in the arm, and I was listening to something and that talked about the very same thing, that we've been living in this feeling for quite a while that another shoe is going to drop, that something bad is going to happen, that we're in a world of doom. And how incredibly important it is for all of us right now to shift out of that and move forward, that we aren't going that path if we don't choose it. And it's so easy to get caught up and listen to the news and listen to, the same stuff. And so I thought as soon as you pulled up the picture and started talking, I thought you were talking to me, because it was a validation of exactly what I was listening to this morning, and it came through at the very moment I needed it. So that was great. Thanks.
Good. Well, the more you feel like this and you come away with this feeling, the more you're going to start experiencing it. This joy of prosperity. Right. It's true, really. So everyone needs to know what we put out repeatedly over and over again, we're going to get back. So we all deserve to be joyful. And you know what I always tell everyone, which, I've said this before on my YouTube channel many times, and people always cut me down for saying this. They said, because I always say, until you learn to love this world, I mean, love every aspect of this world, that you will not experience enlightenment. Because when you are in this world and you're thinking, what a terrible place this is, oh my God, I want to grow spiritually because I want to get out of this world because it's such an evil place. You know what? You'll never get out of it, because it's only when you come from the place of, I love everything about this world. It's a beautiful world. There's so much beauty in this world, and the opportunities it presents, such as, Marcy's going to go to Italy. Italy is so beautiful. It's breathtaking. I mean, who doesn't love going to look at, all those houses on the cliffs and the ocean and the bougainvilleas and the beauty of the ocean of the Mediterranean and the foods of the Mediterranean. I'm sorry, that is really wonderful experience. So what I'm trying to say is love this world. The more you love it, the more you're going to get back from it. And the more you'll grow spiritually, rather than being miserable that you want, I've heard people say, oh, I want this to be my last life. All that kind of negative stuff. Well, it's never going to be their last life till they learn to love this world. We got to come from a place of love. That's when and where we unite with the energy of the divine, because that's what it is. Okay. So I want any other feedback. Anyone want to add to those pictures, what they're feeling about them?
The one thing I picked up on is the first class picture was mindset. Have that first class mindset. Because you went from right into that into like how we're supposed to develop that consciousness with money. Yeah. And none of us really feel like we get that experience in life, but that to me related it. And then when you flipped it over, these people are making a commitment.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what showed up to me. And then the other part of you going in and talking about religion and stuff, there was a Jewish boy that's kind of famous on YouTube that passed away and came back. And he came back, his whole message was that he came back because it's like he was given a choice, that he wanted to do more for others, to earn more on the other side of whatever that relate is. It's like that message is coming through, that, you know, we're here to be good to people and to not just think of ourselves. So anyway, that's what I wanted to
That's
add.
perfect. Thank you for that, because I think the word that's really powerful that you said, Michelle, is commitment. Yeah, we have to have commitment to things. We can't be just kind of halfway doing anything. If we want results, it's never going to happen. And yes, prosperity is a mindset that, and you know, as you said, the boy that went on the other side and came back to give us the message, well, it's like he wanted to do more for people. And that doesn't mean that you have to give huge amounts of money to charities. It means in every single day practice being kind to people that you come in contact with throughout your day. That's what you can do to contribute to a better world. And yeah, on the news, they're going to tell us, you know, the economy's horrible, there's lack and everything. If you come from that place, you'll get that. But there are so many people that are still prosperous, and you are one of them by changing the mindset of what's going on in the mind. So maybe the reason why the economy may go down is because they're brainwashing all the people to think in that realm, and it's bringing everything down. But don't allow that to happen in your own life. You have control over that, and you will not experience what others are experiencing if you come from this, as Michelle says, mindset. This is so important, and you're committed to it. Okay, anyone else want to add their 2 cents to this?
I'd like to say something about flow, because you were saying everything you were speaking about. It just I thought of the word flow, like flowing water, or like if you're giving somebody a present, you want them to accept it. You made a card or whatever, you want them to accept it. You don't want them to say, "Oh no, not me. I can't accept that gift," because you're wanting to give somebody something, and you want them to take it and receive it. It's like passing the baton and to the next person, like pay it forward or whatever. So I feel like this flowing, same thing with water through the dam, you know, it's generating electricity. If the water was stagnant and it didn't flow, you wouldn't get any electricity.
What a great point. I love that, Joan, because, you know, I used to be like, when somebody would pay me a compliment, I would say, "Oh, no, I'm not." They say, "Oh, you look pretty today," or something. I say, "No, I don't." And I was like, I had learned to stop doing that and to start saying thank you. It was really hard at first, but that's exactly what it was. I dammed up the flow. I didn't allow it to flow through me, and receive it and say thank you. And then it flows on to something else with someone else. You're right. Yeah, we all need to learn that as well, to keep that flow going and be appreciative when somebody does something nice for you. Don't, you know, say, "Oh no, I don't deserve that," or "No, no, you got to receive." And many times when somebody's giving you a gift or anything, say thank you, because that gives them great pleasure to give to you,
Yeah.
That's the flow. Love it. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else want to add before we go to the astrology of the day?
Yeah, just real quick, Joni, you're pretty every single day.
And I still have to, it's like, I got to stop that. Thank you. Thank you. You are too, by the way, Marcy. Yes, you are. Okay. Yes. So are y'all ready to go looking at the astrology? So I think that those pictures are pretty clear cut. We didn't have to go into any deep psychological symbology with that. That one was pretty clear cut. And I think it's a great message for us all. So let me share the screen. Whoops, let me get that out of the way. I thought my astrology chart, there it is. All right, so today is July 19th, 2022, and we started this class at noon in Dallas. So still the rising sign as last week. is still going to be in Virgo, which throws this in Aries. So, so that's like in the 8th house is Mars, Uranus, Rahu. Now, normally as an astrologer, I look at that and I freak out. Really, I think, oh my God, that's horrible. But here's what we got to start doing seriously. I know this sounds kind of Pollyanna or airy-fairy, but astrology can have two different meanings, a positive and a negative. And remember, I showed the chart of Swami Sayuteswar, which was the guru to Paramahansa Yogananda. That is one of the main reasons I got into Vedic astrology, because he did Vedic astrology. And I was like, what is that as a Westerner? And I got into it. But he was a self-realized master, a guru. He had this conjunction, is my point. And here is what I want you to know. That can be a spiritual warrior of flash, amazing awakenings. Remember, the planet Uranus means awaken, to awaken suddenly. Mars is always a trigger, and it being in Aries is so over the top powerful. It means energizing whatever it's next to in a big, huge way. So it's next to this unexpected, sudden awakening and change. Remember, I always tell my students, bottom line, the initial keyword you have to remember for Uranus is the planet of change. So if it's a planet of change, with Mars, which is the planet of action, and Rahu, which magnifies it all the more, this should be, and not only that, we've talked before about the 27 nakshatras. There's 27 of them. The planets will all be in a certain nakshatra, but this nakshatra, Bharani, that stands for, is a birthing process. So being here in the 8th house, which is the house of change, because, you know, people freak out with the 8th house because it's a house of death, right? But what is death? It's a transformation. And the 8th house is actually the house of transformations. It actually deals with birth and death. And we've got these planets of birthing in there in that nakshatra to an awakening. This is really powerful stuff, but you can go the negative route, which we're going to claim the positive. But for those of you that don't know astrology, the negative route would be Mars is violence and anger and weapons and fire. And it sits here with Uranus, which is the planet of change and disruption and sudden unexpected events. And it sits with Rahu, which magnifies things 100-fold. So we have, this could indicate a major event that happens unexpectedly that could create death for many people, transformation for many people. We're going to claim the transformation and that this can be an awakening. And you know what it will be? This is an awakening. So it's an extreme awakening. Everything's about to change. Now, going over here to where Jupiter and the moon sit, this is the moon and this is Jupiter. And together they're very spiritual, very, very spiritual, especially in the sign of Pisces. And with Jupiter being in its own sign, it's very spiritual. So in the angle of the chart, the 7th house with the moon, this is a positive influence for this day. And the 7th house deals with relationships. So this can deal with coming together with spiritual relationships and understanding one another. When I think about Pisces, I think about compassion. And so things are okay, I think, with the Jupiter moon for this day or for this week, whatever. We know things are going to get more and more and more intense. Yes, but we're going to choose the positive is my point. Now, Saturn has now backed up into Capricorn, and, you know, Capricorn is all about organization, governments, being in control, business, So Saturn being back is going to clean up a lot of things that need to be cleaned up concerning governments and probably businesses and things of that nature. So this deals with business, Capricorn. And Venus over here in the 10th house, well, the 10th house is the highest house of the chart. So it deals with the public. It also deals with business as well. And Venus being there in Gemini can mean a lot of communications and businesses can come together and work things out in a very prosperous way, because Venus is the planet of wealth and money. So I don't see where, while Venus is, you know, during this week, we're at noontime, we're having Virgo as the rising sign. I don't think it's going to come to a place of, you know, complete gloom and doom with prosperity. So maybe that's why we all got this card of prosperity, because all of us that are participating in this class today are going to experience in some way prosperity. And you know what? This is absolutely the truth. But if you don't believe it, it's not true for you. But I believe it, and I believe it for all of you as well. So you have to believe it and know it, because all of us, by being consciously aware of our potential for prosperity by the way that we treat others and the way we serve and the way we receive this entire week, till the next week, till we're reminded again in this class about our prosperity. But I want you to know that this week, all of us that are participating here today are going to have some amazing things happen that's going to make us very prosperous. It's even in the astrology. Okay, so let's go here to the 11th house, where we have the Sun and Mercury. Well, I love the 11th house because it actually deals with groups and organizations. And that's what we are. We're a group of people that want to come together to help one another evolve and grow. And, you know, the Sun in this chart is power. The Sun is the sense of power. It does rule the 12th house of organizations that help others. It's in the 11th house of groups. And Mercury is the chart ruler by the fact that it rules the ascendant and it rules the 10th house. So this combination is what we call, I know some of you don't know Vedic astrology, we call this a Raja Yoga, when the rulerships of an angle and a triconal come together, the angle being the 10th, the triconal being the 1st. But aside from all of those Sanskrit words and Vedic astrology, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Raja means king. So this is a yoga that will produce great things. For what? Groups and organizations. And what's the 11th house? The house of great gains. So all of us here that know that we have to, first of all, what do we have to do? Develop positive money consciousness. 2, believe it's possible. 3, believe in yourself. All of us that practice these truths this week are going to be amazingly prosperous in some beautiful way that you've been wanting to achieve. So Rahu and Ketu, by the way, Ketu is here in the 2nd house. Very interesting, while Rahu's in the 8th house. And actually, these above all else, besides the 11th house, are also the houses of money in a chart. The 2nd house is the money you earn. The 8th house is money that comes through other people. And both of them tie in together with money and wealth. And I think it's very interesting that the nodal axes, Rahu is here and Ketu's here. So Rahu being in the 8th house of money through other people should mean money will come through others. And with these 2 planets being in the 11th house of gains, yeah, there's something very important that's happening this week for all of us in this class that will bring us our prosperity. We'll be able to discuss it more next week to see what it's brought all of us, because when you come from this mindset, you're going to get what you are committed to. positively. So anyone want to add anything? I don't like to get too much into astrology because I know some of you are not astrologers, and I just want to give you what I see this chart is trying to reveal to us, to give us some answers for what we're going to be experiencing in the next week or so. So anyone want to add anything else to this picture?
Joni, this is Sandeep.
Hi, Sandeep, how are you?
Fine. In
Good.
fact, two things, which is very relevant and apt for me is, the poverty consciousness. Sometimes the poverty consciousness. I mean, of course, I'm grateful to God that I have. I'm doing okay and fine. But there was one time in life where things were not going well. When I had a long transition 4 years back, was literally had no job, living out of credit card bills, and I knew that things will have changed. And just 2-3 months back, things changed, and this last 1 year things have been good, and I sold my house in California, made a very big profit, a little bit more than what it was. But sometimes your poverty conscious thinking is that I invested in a property, and which I'm today, this week, I'm planning to do an Airbnb business, launch an Airbnb business. So that is a positive thing. But coming back to the poverty conscious, sometimes I was wondering of why am I getting this extra money? And you have that thing, you don't believe that good things have happened to you. And sometimes you tune yourself into a negative, why is it happening to you? And little did I know that part of the money I put in a crypto company. I mean, I put it in a wallet, I stored it. And unfortunately, some of the two crypto companies, which I put some of the money, they've just filed for bankruptcy. And, I don't know whether I'll get back to my funds. So sometimes, though there are positive things going, you tend to have that that poverty consciousness. Sometimes you feel no, you don't. I mean, I could have put and done, bought a car. I've done a lot of materialistic things, but I was thinking, I have to invest. I have to be protective. I have to grow this and do a little bit. So sometimes it's a lot that you should get off that poverty consciousness, because sometimes if you have the negative thinking, sometimes negative manifests. But having said that, what I'm trying to practice is more gratefulness. In fact, I have this, as I don't know whether you can see it. I have this thing called grateful, thankful, blessed. So that is something which I have. I wanted to put it for my Airbnb, but I said, let me put it in my bedroom, because I need to be grateful, thankful, and blessed. And I remind myself that look at the positives, that you made good money, you have done, but also don't have this poverty mindset of, which I had in the previous experience. So so the thing which I'm trying to say is that you manifest what you think. And sometimes if we manifest that we don't deserve things, that also happens. So you need to change your outlook and start thinking more positive and dwelling on the positive. And one of the things of being positive is being more grateful. That I've noticed. And I think for me, as I said, this whole transition is hitting me in my 4th house and my Rahu, because this Mercury, I've said before, this Mars, Ketu, and Uranus all are hitting me at 24 degrees on August 1st, and my Jupiter, natal Jupiter, and my Ketu is at 18 degrees. So I have all these things going. Spiritually, it is definitely helping me, but it's again control of your mind. Anyway, thanks for letting me share that. Yeah, I just wanted to add that. Yeah, that it's very apropos what you told me. Yeah.
I love that. And sometimes, we still have these, we are always trying to correct our negative thinking, because we never completely are, self-realized and come from that place. So sometimes when we have still that little, those little seeds of that negative, then it shows up in some kind of loss of some sort. But when you pull it back and you come from a place of gratitude and know that you know, it's okay, whatever happened, whatever you lost, and be appreciative for the good, and know that you are prosperous. Sometimes I feel like when I've gone through some major losses in life, all of a sudden, when I go through the periods of gain, it's like double what I lost that I come into. That's what I find. So the losses, when you come from a place of, you know, positive knowingness, of prosperity, and that all spiritual seekers and motivational people always say exactly what you said, Sandeep, that is when I come from a place of gratitude and appreciation, that's when things come to me the most. But you got to really be in it, not like, you know, half-ass do it. You know, you got to be there with it. And I
Which is true. You know, you have to be there, and you have to be consciously being paused. You have to tune your mind. And you know, I'd like to thank Geeta because, you know, 3-4 weeks back I met her, 2-3 weeks back I met her. She gave me a mantra, and I've been doing that. And a lot of positive people like you, and like I've been really blessed that so many positive people come, you know, experiences that it's one way overwhelming that, you know, a lot of goodness is also coming. And then this is just everything coming back. But I like really appreciate this space and what you have said today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Obviously you get it. You've experienced it. You know it works. We just have to, anytime we get down and out, remind ourselves of all these things that we're talking about today, because all of us will get to a place where we get down and we forget. But that's the important aspect of why I like coming together with all of you, to remind us together that this is the space where we've got to get back to the reality and the truth, and practice it throughout the week. And then when we start to lose it again, then we have a little renewal like we are today. But yes, so anyone else want to share their experiences where they know all of this works and how it's all happened? Thank you, Cindy.
Can I say something again? Just with that, I feel like when we start to do something and we see, oh no, I'm going to lose money, I'm going to lose this, or I'm going to whatever frequency, we start to manifest that frequency in reality, and that's not good. But I liken it to a little kid who's learning how to walk. They fall down, they get up, they don't care. They don't go, oh God, I'm never going to learn how to walk because I fell down one time. They don't freak out. They just go, oh, get up, brush yourself off, and then they go again. And then they learn how to walk faster, and they even learn how to run. So like you said about, you know, if you you lose a lot of your money in your investment, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die, blah, blah, blah. And if you stop yourself, you don't get off your game, you keep your frequency high, you forget about that pitfall, then you get it back double. It's like, oh yeah, okay, don't screw myself up by getting off the path of this frequency that I've created in order to manifest what I want. Like, don't get off your game. That's what I always keep telling myself. Just, you know, that bad thing happened, that's fine. Just don't make it compounded worse by worrying about it.
You're right. 100%. We have to, you know, I always tell people, whenever I see this aspect in a chart, this is what I always tell people. It's when Saturn and Mars fully aspect each other, either through conjunction or an opposition. You got it? Okay, then you know what I mean. Okay, so whenever I see that aspect in a chart, I know that these are the people that will never give up. They have persistence, diligence, perseverance, and they're knocked down many times, because those two planets are so harsh with each other that you will be knocked down many, many times. But people with that conjunction or opposition,
which conjunction? I apologize.
Mars and Saturn, either conjunct or opposed. I'll never forget this, because many, many years ago, Chakrapani Ual, he did I was teaching with him at a conference, and he did a whole all-day class on Saturn and Mars. And the gist of it was that it's a successful aspect. And you think they're arch enemies. These two planets hate each other more than anything, and they represent completely different energies, such as Mars wants to go fast and Saturn wants to stop and go slow. So you put them together, and I remember my teacher in Western astrology always said, when you have those two planets together, it's like you're going down the street with one foot on the accelerator and one on the brake. So how do you get anywhere, right? But what I learned in Vedic astrology from Chakrapani, he said, oh no, these people always succeed. And when I think about that, it's because they are what Joan says. They get right back up and they keep going. And no matter how many times they're knocked down, which is definitely more than once or twice, they get up and they keep going. And I always say that planetary combination always breeds success, because they don't give up. You know, one of the times they're going to make it, right? You know, when you fall down so many times and you keep getting up, one time you're lucky and you make it. And that is why people with this horrendous conjunction, which can be tough, always succeed, because they never stop trying. Exactly what Joan says. I think it's kind of ironic that, Joan, you have that combination, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't have the actual conjunction. I have Mars aspecting my Saturn by the 4th aspect, and Saturn aspecting my Mars by the 10th.
Okay,
so it's like,
you got
I think
it.
it still works. It still works, because you
got
get more practice when you fall down. You get more practice to stand back up. Like the people who never fall down, they don't get practice, and then they're like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm falling down. And where other people, they fall down all the time. They go, oh, I got this. I know how to get out of it. I'm not going to worry.
Yeah, no, your combination is the same as a conjunction opposition. I forgot that there was that combination, that they both mutually have to aspect each other, and that's what's happening. So you got it, even though it was the third thing that's the only way you can get it, with those three things, and you've got it.
And they're parivarting it too, so it's pretty funny.
Oh my God. No wonder. You are a great success at whatever you do, but you don't usually make it the first go round, do you?
Nope, never. It's so funny. It's so funny, but I always end up, and I always say, I always start off slow. I finished on the top. And at the beginning, it's like, oh God, you're no good. And at the end, I'll be at the top. That's it. It's so funny. If I had given up every time that I found out I wasn't any good, I'd be like, I'd be nowhere. But I just, it was just in my chart. I just kept put my head down and keep going. And it's so funny how you say that, because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. You of all people lived it, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay. Anyone else want to add any great thoughts that are going to help us out this week?
Joni, I totally agree about that. Saturn and Mars, I have them exactly opposite on the 6-12 axis.
Oh my goodness. So you know exactly
Yeah.
what it looks like. Yeah. Always,
yes, and there's a lot of learning.
yeah, but you never give up. And that's what breeds success. I love that you said that. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else want to add anything?
Thank you, Brand, for sharing.
In my case, my Mars and my Saturn are in my 7th house together
right.
in Cancer. So,
Yeah.
and I have a parivartana. So, and my it's in my 7th house, and I have a parivartana with my moon in Jyeshta. So I have a lot of things going on in my 11th. So, but then but definitely I've never given up on my relationship. At 7th house, it's always a lot of hard work, and it is there, but I definitely agree. I've been beaten down a lot of times, but I'm still standing, so I mean, I still get up. So it's definitely a right thing.
Okay. So the message we all should be getting from all of this is that if we fail with our prosperity consciousness during this week, which we might, we gotta not give up and do it. Keep going with it. Don't give up. So, and that's also part of our message with the symbols. I think with this being, the commitment, we made a commitment to do something. And that's what I want everyone to do today. Make that commitment about the poverty consciousness. You're not going to do it ever. Well, I say ever again, but we got to try to say never again, although We get weak, we're humans, but let's just, every time we get weak and we exhibit our humanness, we're gonna get back on track, just like a child that falls down. So what? We fell down, get back and try again, because we're gonna succeed. Okay. Such great messages. I can't believe how this book that I made 30 years ago, I actually was like, what am I going to do with this book? It's such a great book. I don't know what to do with it. I didn't know I was going to be using it 25, 30 years later for a class, did I?
And Janine,
Yeah. Yes.
like, oh my gosh. And come to my husband, when he went on that trip in Utah, the whole month that he was gone, he did all that stuff. And I didn't even know it until after we had that class.
What he did, what stuff? He made a book of symbols?
No, he was in Utah on that off-grid thing for a whole month. And the month that I was, this past month. And so, you know what, Janine, I think it was Janine that was when she was a teenager and had to go to the,
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot.
He did that. He went to a school and lived off grid and went through all of those experiences, like what she's talking about, So I found that out that day that you talked about that afterwards.
That is, I mean, talk about synchronicity. That's crazy how everything, and we have to realize nothing happens that's not for a reason and isn't in alignment and synchronistic. Nothing. We get so caught up in our daily lives, we forget about the purpose and what the beauty and of this universe, that there's this spiritual force operating through it in every way. And so many people are like, that they'll start in with that government stuff and how the government, all this corruption and all this stuff on either side of whatever their beliefs are. But you know what? We have to come with our purity that there is a divine force that is always going to lead us to good. Always. I don't care, if you believe in Satan and all that crap, all that stuff, there is the positive and the negative forces in this world, but we get to choose to be part of the positive. And not only that, I believe that the divinity of whatever you want to call it, the power of God, I don't care what you call God. God is easy, but so many people get so caught up in that word that they lose sense of what I'm actually talking about. Talking about that divine spirit that is nothing but unconditional love. To me, that's my God, right? So I believe that no matter what you see out there in the world politically going on, that the good is always going to prevail. I know that's true just by our daily, everyday activities that we take on. And we see the synchronicity of the spiritual world talking to us all day if we listen and recognize it. It's good. There is a force of good, and we need to align ourselves with it. And the good will always prevail no matter what we're seeing out there in the world. Know that it is a fact, even though it looks pretty bleak sometimes. Sometimes things have to happen. And I just wrote my newsletter for August, and you'll see I take it to all sorts of extremes in this newsletter. It's probably the most extreme one I've ever done. But my point is, sometimes the good will always prevail, but sometimes things need to be destroyed for the good to come out and to begin again throughout all of the Vedic symbolism, such as, I love the symbolism of the dancing Shiva. And that's what I talk about in my newsletter, because Shiva destroys the illusion. The illusions of this world with fire, with destruction, has to destroy the universe. So you can see that all of the hate and negativity is an illusion. What's truth is the spirit of the divine that is unconditional love, and it will always prevail no matter what we're seeing in the world right now. Remember that to give yourself a sense of peace, to reconnect with the beauty of your spirit and who you really are, which you are that. Unconditional love, which, you know, every single person that has had a near-death experience, gone through that tunnel, they always talk about that feeling that is indescribable of unconditional love. And that is the spirit of God. And that's what will prevail through all of the darkness that is an illusion. So that's what I want to add to that. You know how I get on my little rant and raves about things. So, so anything else anyone want to add? I love the synchronicity of this world. It's beautiful. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Kate, was it Cassie?
Cassie, yes. Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to share a couple of things. One is that I got into vision boards about 6 years ago when I had changed careers and gotten into real estate, and everything that I put on my vision board came to pass. Every single thing.
Wow.
Including the wedding theme that I never in a million years thought I was actually going to get married and have a family of my own, and now I do. I was a nanny for over 20 years and I loved that, and I felt like if I wasn't going to have children, then, you know, I had been greatly blessed by being able to raise and be involved in so many different families. But that leads me to my next thing, which is when in 2017, I had decided I was going to take a year off of dating and just focus on my career. But something happened and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go on a date. And I I made a very detailed journal entry over the course of a week of, okay, if I'm going to go and tackle this online dating thing again, then this is how I want it to go. This is who I want to meet. This is, you know, if these things happen, then I'll agree to meet in person. And the very first date I had is now my husband.
Wow.
And everything went according to the way I had written it down because I did it with the most sincere intent. I didn't want to fool around. I didn't want to play games, and I knew what I wanted out of life. And I find myself in this pivotal moment of again where I can't really say that I've known what the next stage is for me, that I know what the next phase is like. But so many parts of my life since becoming a mother have just completely vanished. Like I have a call with Sarpa Yoga as well. My chart is about as Scorpio as it gets. I've got planet bombs in like 3 different houses. Like it's crazy. So I had very extreme life experiences, and each time is like a birthing process, and I come through. But the one thing that has always gotten me through is God. And I'm with you in that sense of when you say God, and so many people complicate the meaning and want to bring their own religious understanding to what that means. And it's just like, if you want to argue about the skin color or about this, you're missing the point. Like, that is irrelevant. If you can just really sit down and connect with that, you're going to get through just about anything. And it won't be pleasant, you know, not all the time, but there's so much glory that can come through it all. And I just wanted to share that because if you were to tell me 4 years ago that my life would be what it is today, you couldn't have paid me enough to believe it.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm still transforming and getting through it. And that's why I expressed the last time I talked, I'm just so thankful for this class because it's been a whirlwind of having to sort through my thoughts and having to sort through belief systems and having to sort through just letting go and what to hold on to. And I've had crazy dreams, and it's fantastical at times. You know, so I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Cassie. Well, what do you think, Cassie, was the turning point for you? How it went from you not having anything you wanted to all of a sudden it happening? What do you think it was? Just a click with your mindset or something? What was it?
It always starts when I start to believe the good. You know,
How cool.
yeah, like I I still struggle with my weight, but several years ago, the first time I had lost a lot of weight, I just had so many negative messages in my mind. And it wasn't until I just decided I was going to love my body and I was going to believe the compliments people gave me instead of just only believing all the negative messages that I had been filled with my whole life, that I started to see results. And it did not matter how much effort I put into it, it did not matter. And I find that true with everything. And also, like, I truly have come to believe that you cannot let go of something until you really own it. Like you have to own something in order to let go of it. Otherwise, you're not going to learn what you're supposed to learn from it. So, and that's painful. Like, that's not the fun part, but it's beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, so when you say you have to own something, that means you become responsible, that it's something I created, therefore I'm in control and I'm the only one that can change it if I own it. And
Yes.
that is so important for all of us to realize, because when we're blaming everything else out there for our condition, that is when we give away our power to change. So I love everything you said is totally in alignment with the validation of these, spiritual laws, which you can call it karma, the law of attraction. What you put out, you get back. But that is everything. And I love that you said it's when you started to believe in the good that it all started to manifest. That is really a powerful, I'm glad you spoke up, because some people might be struggling with how are people doing this? I don't get it. But you really gave them the tools that are necessary. Being responsible, owning things so that you're the one that's the only one that can change your condition by owning it. And secondly, just to believe in the good instead of believing all those lies that keeps us stuck in our poverty and our not in our lack of not having all the things that we definitely deserve to have through coming from a place of belief in the good, in the spiritual, and I want to take the word belief away, but we use it all the time, to knowing, because that's when it happened for me. It's when I quit wishing, hoping, praying, and I knew it was going to happen. Whatever it was I had on my vision board, I knew it was going to happen. And it had, like you said, everything I was wanting to manifest came into being because I came from a place of knowing and worked towards it instead of all the negative beliefs that no, it wouldn't happen and it couldn't happen. It's not possible. I believed in myself. It was possible. And I was gonna, and I knew it was gonna happen. One time, one of my kids said, "Mom, how did you manifest all this?" And I said, "Because I always knew it would happen. I didn't believe, just wasn't coming from a place of belief or hope. I knew it was gonna happen, and it happened." So you got to come from that place, everybody, of knowingness, and everything you want will manifest. Sometimes it doesn't manifest as quickly, but it will definitely manifest as quickly as we want. It took me a while, but but it's because it took me a while to truly come from that place of knowingness too. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Cassie. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else want to add anything? We've got just a few more minutes, so speak up. Remember, this is your time. Don't be afraid. All right, if nobody has anything else to say, then I'm just going to give just a recap, because I think this was a really powerful class, that we are all here to manifest and bring out the good in ourselves, because when we do, we're going to attract the good outside of ourselves. Know that how you're treating everyone in your daily life is how you want to be treated. And this makes the world a better place. As my son Austin always says, to be kind to others, because kindness is everything. And realize that when you come from a place of believing in yourself, and you develop positive money consciousness. Remember last week we talked about when you put it in the positive, that creates it. So don't say, I don't want poverty consciousness. Say, I want to develop positive money consciousness. You see the difference between the negative and the positive? I don't want, all your mind is going to hear is, if you say, I don't want poverty consciousness, your mind's only going to hear poverty consciousness. And that's what you create. So I want you to say, you're going to develop positive money consciousness, positive. So always remember that. And the other thing is we must believe it's possible, and believe in yourself. And I promise you, everyone, this next coming week, we're all going to be granted something, because the universe is all synchronistic. We're talking about this. The book is giving me these symbols. We know that something's going to happen good for all of us that are here, and know it and believe it. So it is going to be that we're going to experience this, and we're going to experience this, which is commitment for prosperity. And not only is it serving us, but we need to serve others with a joy and happiness in the flow of give and take, because it is a universal flow, as we all must know. So I think that's everything. I want you guys to go out in the world and achieve. We now have a mission. I feel like we all have a mission with this. And I want you guys to report back next week with what you've achieved. And, just to add more to this, next week, well, maybe we won't do this next week. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But next week we have Anna Bay. And the timing couldn't be more perfect. Talk about synchronicity. She is going to tell us how she attracted everything in her life. And, it took a little between us, a little convincing to get her to come and join our class a while back. But she says, well, what am I going to talk about? I said, we're going to be talking about in this class the law of prosperity, the law of cause and effect. And we want to know how you did it, because she is a true believer in this whole principle of what you can manifest in your life through the law of attraction. That's her big thing, the law of attraction. So, hey, she has done amazing what she has attracted in her life. And she's going to give us the lowdown of exactly, I'm going to pick her brain on how she did it. And I guarantee you, don't miss next week, because she's going to give us things that you didn't even think about, because her life's amazing. I hope you guys have had a chance to check her out. Don't be sidetracked by some of the titles in her YouTube, because remember, we all need clickbait to get people to watch them. And then when you watch her stuff, you realize the kind of person she really is, which is a heart of gold, loving, caring about people. And she's manifested the life she wants. And you want to do that too. So let's take some take some notes from somebody who has truly manifested greatness in her life. So exactly what she wanted to manifest, she has made happen. So let's see what she can share with us as to how she did it, and we can use some of her tools and techniques for our own lives. So can't wait to see Anna Bay next week. So everyone go out, practice what we're preaching here today, and we're going to start having some success stories all our own. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week, prosperous, and I can't wait to hear your success story. So thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Joni.
Thank you. Bye-bye.